Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. From Daily Hodl. Former Goldman Sachs executive says Bitcoin poised to beat every asset over the next decade. Now, from my perspective, given that my investment thesis for XRP is that utility matters and will win the day, it would make more sense to me to state XRP poised to beat every asset over the next decade. Now, I'll tell you this, I buy into the concept that it's likely that the crypto asset class will, for instance, outperform the S&P 500 over the next decade, because I think that the stock market is in a bubble, and I don't think that crypto is currently in a bubble. Perhaps, from a trading perspective, maybe some would say undervalued even. It's a buying opportunity. There's been blood in the streets for over a year, right? You know, not literally, just figuratively, right? So it creates an opportunity, but I'll tell you, people are going to figure out which coins have true utility, and those ones will have tremendous staying power. So if you look fast forward over a year, if XRP isn't the one cryptocurrency to perform the best, if it's not, fine. Maybe other cryptocurrencies will find staying power based on utility. That's fine too. But it would be the asset class as a whole, at a minimum, I think, if you look over the next decade, is going to beat anything else. That's just a for fun guess. I want to be clear, that's not financial advice whatsoever. And so if you take a look at this, why would this happen? Because like I keep saying, utility matters. Well, take a look at this headline. From A&B Crypto, Ripple partner Bitso could help fill $37,200 million in remittance demand. You might think that's kind of significant. And so there are actually two articles from A&B Crypto about Bitso. That's the first one. I'm going to cover both of them in this video. The other one was this. Ripple-backed Bitso CEO says, tech not the largest component, it's the regulatory entities. Now, before we go any further, if you would please ever so delicately tap that like button, and if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. So let's jump into this first piece, because this is kind of fun. Former Goldman Sachs executive says Bitcoin poised to beat every asset over the next decade. Raul Pal, former exec at Goldman Sachs, predicts Bitcoin will be the best performing asset over the next decade. According to him, co-founder and CEO at Real Vision, an on-demand financial TV channel where major investors share their best business ideas, he said, quote, if I could only own one asset for the next 10 years, it would be Bitcoin. It encapsulates all of my larger macro views and feels like the point on the far horizon we are headed to in some shape or form. Yes, like gold too and many other things, but Bitcoin risk/reward beats all. And so that's interesting, and that's fine that every human out there can have their own opinion. That's why I think it's safer to say broadly crypto, but if you want to pick a specific coin, I'd still pick XRP over Bitcoin. Anyway, Pal has a long history with Bitcoin. He was an early investor who sold all of his holdings in June of 2017, calling Bitcoin a solution looking for a problem. But in an August 2019 interview on the Stephen Livera podcast, Powell said he thinks the highly volatile and risky cryptocurrency is worth investing in even if there's only a 1% chance it succeeds. And here's another quote from him now. I know all these macro guys, they're all in it. They get it. They get the optionality. They may be complete believers, part believers, partial believers, but even then, if it's a 1% chance of being right and the upside is 100x from there, you do this all day. And conceptually, I look at it from a similar perspective too. That's why it's interesting to see that it's becoming more commonplace. We're not quite there yet for its, the vast majority of investors, they're examining their portfolios of crypto, but it makes sense to, even if you're not quite sure, just given that it couldn't be more clear the crypto asset class is here to stay. Even if you're not interested in taking on notable risk, and while admitting, of course, cryptocurrency is risky and highly volatile, absolutely it is, still, it makes sense to perhaps just, if you have $1, take 1 penny from that dollar and put it in as what's the guy's name from I can't remember. There's this very he's probably another billionaire out there. What did he start? It was called like Social something or other. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but he called it schmuck insurance, stating because you don't know if you're right or wrong for sure technically about crypto. That's his perspective, but he says that's real. Just put in 1%. He's saying if you have $1, put in 1 penny, which doesn't seem insane. And so I'm not advising that you do or don't do that. I'm just sharing some of my opinions and some information that I am aware of. That's it. So don't buy or sell because of me. I'm just sharing that with you. All right, now Powell previously managed the GLG Global Macro Fund in London for GLG Partners, one of the world's largest hedge fund groups, and ran the hedge fund sales business in equities and equity derivatives in Europe for Goldman Sachs. So this is not some crazy person. This is presumably a highly intelligent individual. Otherwise, I don't think he'd have the background that he has. And so, look, there's something to this whole crypto thing. I'm telling you, even if you don't know for sure what it is, there's something to it, and it is not going away. Take a look at this now. Ripple partner Bitso could help fill $37,200 million in remittance demand. And this is why, again, going back to XRP over the next decade, this is it's just one story. There's more reasons, but this utility. That's why I'm so optimistic about XRP over the next decade, and I would absolutely pick if I could only invest in XRP or Bitcoin over the next decade. What do you think Moonlam was going to pick? XRP, baby. The San Francisco-based Ripple has made some tremendous progress in terms of planting itself as a major player in the remittance market. As Ripple aggressively expands to new corridors, the U.S.-Mexico one has been one of the most significant corridors for the blockchain firm. XRP/MXN on the Mexican crypto platform, Bitso, saw a steady trading activity since 2019. The volume spiked in the second week of September. Another spike propelled the figures to touch an all-time high of 14.5 million XRP this month. And there you go. It's on the screen right now. And that was the chart as of yesterday. Bitcoin's drop in price in the last quarter of 2019 led to a decline in trade volumes across cryptocurrency exchanges. However, this did not have much impact on Bitso. This was revealed by Bitso CEO Daniel Vogel in a recent conversation with Messari's Ryan Selkis, and he said, quote, "In the last 7 months, when exchanges worldwide were losing volume, we were actually increasing our volume. I think that would be a typo for me because I didn't notice that earlier. They wrote the same part of the quote twice, but it's crypto media. You know, it's more like it's an F-it attitude. Just screw it. This is good enough. I'm probably not going to get fired. I'm just going to type up this draft, upload it, see if my boss yells at me. There's going to be a ton of mistakes in it, but I don't give an F. There you go. And then the rest of the quote reads as follows. This is because we have spent a long time building a remittance solution. And this is important as it goes back to crypto as a utility. It goes back to a business model where you don't necessarily depend on crypto prices increasing to do very well. Exactly, and I've talked about this conceptually numerous times in the past. Now, according to the latest BBVA research, remittance to Mexico by 2020 could reach $37,200 million. In 2018, it represented a 2.7% of the total GDP, highlighting the growing remittance in Mexico and the need for efficient solutions in the space. Vogel stated, quote, "In Mexico alone, you have 125 million people. Over 87 million of those are connected on smartphones, so these are internet-enabled devices. And yet, you have under 40 million bank accounts in the country, and 22 million of those bank accounts are bank accounts that people don't use. There is a ton of need in the region to have access to better financial services." And that's what Ripple's seeking to do. It's called the Internet of Value, and one of the things that I think is the coolest out of all of this, on a high level, is that what Ripple is doing is going to help the poorest people on the planet first, because they're tackling the corridors, remittance corridors, where there is the most friction. Think about it. From U.S. to Mexico and to the Philippines. It's a source for good. And that's why when I see Bitcoin maxis out there that are against what Ripple is doing, down with banks, down with the government, like, oh my God, if you had your way, you would actually be materially harming people. No. Be an adult about this. Quit being an ideological Bitcoin troll. Okay, I'm just saying. All right. Ripple-backed Bitso CEO says, tech is not the largest component, it's the regulatory entities. Stablecoins have been regarded as something that could disrupt the financial stability by regulators around the world. The oldest stablecoin, Tether's tryst with the regulators, has not been smooth. Along the same lines, Mexican crypto exchange Bitso CEO Daniel Vogel, in the latest edition of Unqualified Opinion, said, quote, "One of the biggest learnings over the last 5 years trying to build a cross-border product with crypto is that the largest component is not technology. The largest component is convincing these highly regulated to do something with you, to open an account with you, to get comfortable with utilizing crypto. These problems are a lot harder to fix." So conceptually, it's like it's how individuals feel about the concept of this rather than what is technologically possible with it. Now, anchored by either fiat or gold, stablecoins have continued to occupy a unique place in the crypto industry over the years. But despite that, according to Vogel, the fiat/gold peg tokens have continued to pose a challenge, he said. Here's another quote. "We certainly have these new stablecoins where the aim is to make them incredibly transparent, where there is a lot of auditing going on, but for a long time, this was a very opaque thing." So there you go. Obviously, regulatory hurdles, kind of a big deal, but it's all going to get worked out in time. So just sit tight. I mean, that's what I'm doing anyway. But that is it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!